What's good, everybody? Is when I come back at y'all in a video. So for this video is going to be all about perspective, right? And the main idea, the focus of this video is to avoid judging things and people. Now, this is a two-part video, right? The first is to avoid judging things and the second part is to avoid judging people. So I'm going to basically split it apart and do like the first things and then people, right? So we can have an understanding for both. So when I say avoid judging things, by things, I'm referring to the events of your life. Now, most people have a tendency that when an event unfolds in their life, right, that they're quick to judge the event. They're quick to place it in buckets, whether the event was a bad event, right, or whether the event was a good event. But what you need to understand is that when events happen, they just are, right? They just are. They're not necessarily good or bad. It's just we as people have the tendency to place them in buckets with whatever we think, based on whatever unfolded with that event. But you need to understand that it's not necessarily like that, right? Well, first off, of course, like I mentioned, the events just are, but they're not necessarily that black and white, because an event that seems to be negative could in fact be positive. Now, before I give an example, right, first and foremost, what you also need to understand is that things that happen in life, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. So because things happen for you in life, then that means everything can actually be good, or everything is good and everything can actually be good, because you can always find a positive out of any event. You can, if you think hard enough, if you try hard enough, you can find something positive or something to be grateful about, or something good out of an event. It's just most people would rather not do that. If they see something unfold and if it appears to be undesirable, they will merely say, this is a bad event. How could something so bad happen to you? But it's, once again, it's not necessarily that black and white. And I'll give you an example, right? There's been plenty of people who have gone to jail, right? They've been incarcerated. And I know that going to jail is not necessarily a desirable event, right? Because for most people, they prefer their freedom, right? To be able to go outside whenever they want, eat or cook whatever they want, right? And to be safe, right? Of course, depending on where someone is incarcerated at, right, may not be the best conditions, right? It may not be the safest environment, may not be the cleanliest environment, right? This person is probably in the room for many hours throughout the day, limited space, limited viewing hours, etc., etc. So for most people, that would immediately be seen as a bad event. Going to jail, bad. What you need to understand is, for some people who, let's just say, they were doing bad things to other folks, right? I don't know. We're talking about judging events, and I'm already saying that someone's doing something bad. But you get what I'm trying to say, right? Like, let's be human for a second, right? Let's just say someone isn't doing what they should be doing and is negatively impacting the lives of other people, right? Say they're on the wrong path in life, right? And because of that, they get in trouble and they get incarcerated, right? You don't know if that incarceration could have been the best thing to happen to that person, because them being incarcerated now gives them time to reflect and think about the life and the direction that they've been going, because maybe they've just been having so much fun doing whatever. Maybe they've just been a loose cannon and they weren't thinking about the consequence, or didn't think about their actions and how it affected other people. And then it's very well possible that them being incarcerated allowed them to reflect on their life and realize that this isn't the direction that they want to take their life. And so because of that, when they're released, they turn their life around for the better, right? And in some cases, right, that incarceration could have even saved their lives, because maybe there were other people on the outside looking to hurt this person, right? This is what I mean, right? Some people will say, oh, incarceration, bad event. But if that event is what helped turn that person's life around, and now they're doing better for themselves, right? And because of that event, that was the major turning point where things were headed south. And because that was a big punishment, and now they have so like they have idle hands and have so much time, and they're beginning to reflect on their life and everything that's happened to them. They're like, wow, like I don't want to be here for the rest of my life. I want to begin winning and taking care of my family because that's what's important. I want to be available for my family. So if that person's able to get out and turn their life around and be a great person from this moment forward, was that actually a bad event? Right? Some people will say getting sick is bad. Now, of course, once again, I know it's a rather undesirable event because I don't think anyone would prefer to be sick over being healthy. I'm human, I understand that. But I also have a story of a family member who at one point was doing a road trip from, New York area down south, probably to like Virginia area. And about halfway through the drive, the driver fell ill. And because of that, he turned around to head back home. Now, some people say, oh, that is a very bad thing to happen. That's a bad event because you had planned to go to Virginia and, you getting sick on the road, it ruined all the plans. So therefore, it's a bad event. What you need to understand is you don't know if getting sick actually saved your life, because maybe had the person not gotten sick and continued down the road, maybe something weird or strange would have happened that could have potentially gotten them hurt, right? You don't know. There's going to be some instances where you simply don't know. Simply don't know if, in that case, right, you probably never know if your life got saved, but you can still believe that and you can still appreciate what happened, right? So this is what I mean. I've also experienced events where it was one time I was like walking back home, and this was about like a year or two, probably like 2 years ago or so. And this was here in New York City. They have like bike lanes now. And I remember I was walking home, and the bike lanes are still new. So I was never really accustomed to like looking both ways to make sure the bikes, to look for the bikes, right? Because in theory, I always believe that the bikes should go in the direction of traffic, right? But at least in my area, I don't know if that's how things should be, but essentially when there's a bike lane, bicycle riders go both ways, right? Even if it's a one-way street, right? The riders will go both directions. And so when I went to cross the street, normally I don't stand at the edge of the sidewalk. Well, normally I stand like on the very edge of the sidewalk, or probably I walk a little bit further because cars usually never go that close to the sidewalk. And I remember I was just listening to music. Like I was just basically zoned out, listening to music, having a good time, minding my business, walking home, whatever. And I took a step forward at the edge of the curb, and literally a biker just at full speed just went right past my face. Like I swear I felt like I was no more than 3 inches from hitting this person. Well, from this person hitting me, I should say, right? Because I'm crossing the street, they see me, and they're going opposite direction from traffic. So because it's a one-way, I'm looking towards the direction of the traffic, right? So I'm not looking the opposite way because I don't expect cars shouldn't be coming from that way. So I'm only looking one way with the direction of the traffic. And so the biker goes from the opposite direction, and he doesn't make any noise. He doesn't ring a bell. He doesn't do anything. He just zooms right past me. And in one of those moments, that's when obviously I was present in the moment, right? Because I jumped up. It was like a shock that someone would be that close to me and almost hit me. But in that moment, I didn't, and of course the biker already left. But in that moment, I didn't necessarily get angry at that, because for me, if anything, I was at peace. I was smiling after that event happened, because that to me was a sign that universe was not only telling me, hey, wake up, you want to be like a little more alert, but 2, the universe also protected me, because literally had I gone there like a split second sooner, I probably would have taken an extra step, and then the biker probably would have hit me, right? But because that didn't happen, I was so close to the biker and that didn't happen, then I knew that the universe protected me, right? So even when events happen that don't seem desirable, right? You can still see everything as a positive. Like I took away from that event a positive that the universe is in fact looking out for me and preventing me from getting hurt. Because once again, if I had walked even a millisecond faster, I would have gotten hit by a biker, right? Going opposite direction of traffic. So that's why many people will label that as a bad event, but I see the good in it. And that's what I mean by perspective. Events can happen, you can see the good in it. The driver that went down ill, he may never know what could have happened, right? But we do know that he was safe and sound. And so it wasn't necessarily a bad event. Now, when it comes to people, right, avoid judging people. This is equally as important, right? Avoid judging people because we live in an orderly universe, an orderly planet, right? You've heard the saying karma, or you've heard the term karma. You've heard the other saying, you reap what you sow. This is also true, right? The reason why you don't want to judge and condemn people is because you open yourself up to be judged and condemned. Well, it's two reasons, right? That was the first reason, right? If you say bad things to other people or wish ill will to other people, you're in fact opening yourself up. You're opening yourself up to experiencing the same thing, right? Because the law of attraction, what you put out is what you receive in return. But also, more importantly, is if you say bad things to other people, if you wish ill will to other people, you're in fact wishing it on yourself. Many people don't think that's the case or don't believe it, but what you need to understand, this is the logic, right? For you to wish ill will to someone, you're thinking that thought of ill will and you're saying it. And oftentimes, when people wish ill will on someone, it's because they're frustrated at that person. So you're thinking it, you're saying it, and you're feeling the emotion that's tied with that ill will. So even if you're saying it to someone else, you're actually experiencing it yourself in that moment. So this is why you want to avoid judging and condemning people, right? It says judging people and even judging things, right? It slows you down and harms you. It slows down your progress, because when you begin judging people, right, then you're speaking negatively about them. You're going to feel that negative emotion. Same with if you're judging the event as bad, you're going to feel negative emotion. When you're feeling negative emotion, right, you're not who you truly are, right? Because who you are a creature of vibration. You want to vibrate high. You want to feel good, right? Feel the amazing emotions. And with the law of attraction, what you put out is what you get back in return. So if you're putting out high energy, high vibration, positive emotions, you are going to attract that into your life. If you are experiencing negative emotion, then you're putting that out in the universe and you're getting more of that negativity as well. So if you want to improve your life for the better, you need to begin vibrating the positive energy and putting out positive energy. If someone else, let's just say someone is being mean, saying mean things, right? You don't have to accept it as truth. You don't have to entertain it, right? You don't have to respond to it. Or if you choose to respond to it, you can respond to it with positivity. Or if you choose to ignore it, right? What you need to understand is twofold, right? What they say, you don't have to accept that as truth. You don't have to, because sometimes when people are saying mean things, a lot of times it falls flat on its face because it's simply not true. And two, all that is, the negative things they're saying, all that is just a reflection of who they are and likely where they stand right now. Because if you're someone who's happy and smiling, hard to imagine you even thinking about or saying negative things to other people, because you're happy and you're smiling and you're having a good time. But if you're experiencing negative emotions, then it's more likely, more common for some people to say negative things to other people. So you can look at that as just a reflection of where that person is, usually mood wise, right? That they're saying nasty things is probably because they're feeling negative emotions in this moment. But if someone is saying negative things to you, then chances are it is simply a reflection of them, because them saying negative things, they thought those negative things, they said those negative things, and they're feeling the negative things themselves. So if someone stoops to that level, that low, and they're being negative to you and everything, you honestly don't even have to entertain it. You can actually smile, because you know that it is simply a reflection of them, right? Whatever it is that they're saying that's nasty to you, they're basically saying it to themselves, and that's how they truly feel about themselves. So the moral of this video here: avoid judging things and people by things I'm referring to events, right? Events just are. They're not necessarily good or bad, but if you want to walk through life having a great time, then see every event that happens in your life as a good thing, because I promise you, you can find the positive, or at least one positive aspect of any event that happens in your life, right? And you can be grateful for that event. Other reason why you want to avoid judging events is because you don't know the entire chain of events planned, right? The universe works in mysterious ways. We've all had events that happen in our lives where at first we wasn't sure why this event happened, but then over time it became clear that that event that seems to be negative ended up being a catalyst for additional events, right? We oftentimes we believe that we're so smart that we have to be the ones to figure life out, but when you operate that way, you're not giving life room to operate, because you have all the information about your life and how you think things should unfold, but how you think things should unfold is not always guaranteed to be the best way for how something should happen, right? You may think that the best way for you to find a partner is by going to the club or going to the bar, right? Because that's where single people hang out. But you may very well end up meeting your partner by going to an amusement park and accidentally sparking up a conversation while buying funnel cakes, right? Like, this is what I mean, right? So life happens and operates in mysterious ways. So either you want to try your best or strive to judge less, right? Or be indifferent to the events. But I would much rather have you believe that everything is good and working itself out in your favor, because then you'll be happy, you'll be smiling, and life will be more fun. And the same idea with working with other people, right? You need to understand that there are only a few bad apples operating at the same time, right? And I call them like shapeshifters, right? That there's only a dozen bad apples or so all scattered all across the planet. And so if you ever come across one of these bad apples, as people, you need to understand that they are not the majority, that they are few and far between, that most people are nice, most people are, respectful, and there's no need for you to judge other people for negative, no reason for you to negatively judge other people, right? When you negatively judge other people, you're thinking those thoughts yourself and you're feeling that emotion yourself, and so you're condemning yourself when you do that, right? And that's a no-no. You don't have to entertain that. You can either just ignore the negativity or wish them good energy, because then you're effectively wishing that onto yourself, right? Your goal is to feel as good as you can, as good as possible, as often as possible. And you can begin doing that by avoiding to judge events and other people in a negative light, right? You can look at all these things positively, because at the end of the day, everything in life happens for a reason, and everything is happening in your life for your betterment, for your greater good. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe, as we are on the road to 1 million subscriber, guys. So once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.